I've been sleeping with your best friend. Asher's words cut through me like a knife, shattering the illusion of our perfect life together. I stare at him, my heart pounding in my chest as the weight of his confession settles over me. 5 years of marriage, countless memories, and a friendship I cherished above all else, all tainted by this single moment of betrayal. Natalie, my closest confidant, the person I trusted with my deepest secrets, had been lying to me for God knows how long. Asher's face is a mask of cold indifference as he watches me process his words. I want a divorce, Evelyn. It's over. Anger, hot and fierce, surges through my veins. How could you do this to me, to us? We had a life together, Asher. We had plans, dreams. He scoffs, shaking his head. Plans, dreams. You've been so focused on your career, Evelyn, that you've forgotten what it means to be a wife. I needed more than a roommate who occasionally shares my bed. His words sting, but I refuse to let him see how deeply they cut. And Natalie? How long has this been going on behind my back? Asher has the decency to look away, a flicker of shame crossing his features. A year. It started as a friendship, but it grew into something more. Something real. I laugh, a harsh, bitter sound that echoes in the stillness of our living room. Real? You call sneaking around, lying to your wife, and betraying your vows real? What about our marriage, Asher? Was that not real enough for you? He sighs, running a hand through his hair. I didn't plan for this to happen, Evelyn. But Natalie, she understands me in a way you never could. She supports my dreams, my ambitions. She doesn't make me feel guilty for wanting more out of life. And that's worth throwing away everything we've built together? Our home, our future? I can feel the hot sting of tears behind my eyes, but I blink them back, refusing to let him see me crumble. Asher looks at me, his expression a mix of pity and resignation. I'm sorry, Evelyn, but I can't live a lie anymore. I want a divorce, and I'm going to start a new life with Natalie. The finality in his words hits me like a physical blow. In an instant, my world has been turned upside down. Everything I thought I knew, revealed as nothing more than a carefully constructed facade. As Asher turns to leave, I call out, my voice trembling with barely contained rage. This isn't over, Asher. I won't let you walk away from our marriage without a fight. You and Natalie will pay for what you've done. He pauses, his hand on the doorknob, and looks back at me. Do what you need to do, Evelyn. But it won't change the fact that I've made my choice. I'm sorry it had to end this way. With that, he's gone, the door closing behind him with a soft click. I sink to the floor, my legs no longer able to support me, as the tears I've been holding back finally break free. In the silence of our once shared home, I make a vow to myself. I will uncover the truth behind their betrayal, and I will make them regret the day they chose to deceive me. I confront Asher, my anger simmering just beneath the surface. You blame me for your infidelity? How dare you, Asher? We both had demanding careers, but I never once considered betraying our vows. Asher's eyes narrow, his voice dripping with condescension. You were always too busy, Evelyn, too focused on your own success to notice that our marriage was crumbling. Natalie was there for me when you weren't. I supported your career, your ambitions. We made decisions together, Asher. We agreed to wait on starting a family until we were both ready. My voice rises, frustration and hurt bleeding into every word. A cruel smile plays on Asher's lips. Well, I'm ready now. Natalie's pregnant, and I'm going to marry her. We're going to have the family I always wanted, the family you were too selfish to give me. His words hit me like a punch to the gut, stealing the air from my lungs. Pregnant? You got her pregnant while we were still married? How could you be so reckless, so irresponsible? Asher shrugs, his indifference a sharp contrast to the turmoil raging inside me. It happened, Evelyn, and I'm not going to apologize for it. Natalie and I are building a future together, and I won't let you stand in our way. I clench my fists, my nails digging into my palms. You're a liar and a cheat, Asher. You've betrayed me in the worst possible way. And for what? A woman who was willing to sleep with her best friend's husband? What kind of future can you possibly hope to build on a foundation of deceit? He steps closer, his eyes cold and unfeeling. The kind of future I deserve, Evelyn. One where I'm not constantly being held back by a wife who can't see beyond her own ambitions. Natalie understands me, supports me in ways you never could. And you think that justifies your actions? You think that gives you the right to destroy our marriage, to shatter the trust I placed in you? My voice cracks, the weight of his betrayal threatening to crush me. Asher's face hardens, his words laced with venom. I'm done living a lie, Evelyn. I'm done pretending to be happy in a marriage that's been dead for years. You can have your divorce, but don't expect me to go down without a fight. I'll make sure you regret ever trying to stand in the way of my happiness. Happiness? I laugh, a bitter, broken sound. You think you'll find happiness with a woman who betrays her best friend? You're delusional, Asher, and I promise you this. I will uncover every lie, every secret, every dirty little detail of your affair. I'll make sure the world sees you for the monster you really are. He smirks, unfazed by my threats. Do your worst, Evelyn. But remember, I'm not the only one with secrets. You're not as perfect as you'd like everyone to believe. With that, he turns and walks away, leaving me standing alone in the ruins of our once happy life. I watch him go, my heart hardening with each step he takes. I will not let him win. I will not let him destroy me. I will fight back with every ounce of strength I possess, and I will make sure he pays for his betrayal. As I stand there, the pieces of my shattered world littering the ground at my feet, I make a silent vow to myself. I will uncover the truth, no matter the cost. I will expose Asher and Natalie for the liars they are, and I will rebuild my life on my own terms. The price of their deception will be high, and I will make sure they pay it in full. I sit across from the private investigator, his face a mask of professional detachment, as he slides a manila envelope across the table. This is what I've managed to uncover so far, Mrs. Callahan. It seems your husband has been quite generous with his mistress. I open the envelope with trembling hands, my eyes widening as I flip through the photographs and financial statements. Asher, my loving husband, had been funneling money into Natalie's bank account for months, paying for her rent, her art supplies, her lavish lifestyle. How long has this been going on? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. The investigator leans back in his chair, his eyes filled with a mixture of pity and understanding. From what I can tell, the payment started about 6 months ago, right around the time your husband started spending more late nights at the office. I nod, the pieces of the puzzle falling into place. Asher's sudden distance, his increasingly cold demeanor, all signs I had foolishly ignored in my desire to believe in the sanctity of our marriage. Thank you, I say, sliding the envelope back across the table. I appreciate your discretion in this matter. He nods, rising from his seat. Of course, Mrs. Callahan. If there's anything else I can do to assist you, please don't hesitate to call. I leave the investigator's office, my mind reeling with the evidence of Asher's betrayal. But I know confronting him directly will only lead to more lies, more denials. No, I need to go straight to the source. I need to speak with Natalie. I find her at her studio, her once vibrant paintings now twisted and dark, reflecting the turmoil of her own guilty conscience. She looks up as I enter, her eyes widening in surprise and fear. "Evelyn, what are you doing here?" she asks, her voice trembling. I hold up the envelope, my eyes hard and unforgiving. "I know about the money, Natalie. I know Asher's been supporting you, paying for your life while he was still married to me." She pales, her hands twisting nervously in front of her. I can't explain, Evelyn. It's not what you think." "Really?" I laugh, a harsh, bitter sound, because it looks like my husband has been having an affair with my best friend, all while lying to my face and pretending to be the perfect devoted spouse. Natalie's eyes fill with tears, her voice breaking as she speaks. "He promised me, Evelyn. He said he was going to leave you, that we were going to start a life together. He said he loved me." I shake my head, my heart hardening with each word she speaks. "And you believed him? You thought he would actually leave his wife, his successful career, for a struggling artist who can't even support herself?" She flinches at my words, her shoulders sagging in defeat. "I know it was wrong, Evelyn. I never meant to hurt you. But Asher, he made me feel special, wanted. He said he needed me in ways you could never understand." "Needed you?" I scoff, my anger rising with each passing moment. "He needed a mistress, Natalie, someone to stroke his ego and make him feel like a man, but he never intended to leave me. He never intended to start a family with you." Her eyes widen, her hand instinctively going to her stomach. "But the baby," He said he wanted this child, that we were going to be a family. I laugh, a sound devoid of any humor. Asher doesn't want children, Natalie. He made that clear to me from the start. He only wants what he can't have, and once he gets it, he loses interest. You're nothing more than a conquest to him, a way to prove his own virility. She crumples then, her sobs echoing off the walls of the studio. I watch her, feeling a twisted sense of satisfaction in her pain. She brought this upon herself, and now she must face the consequences. I hope it was worth it, Natalie, I say, my voice cold and unfeeling. I hope the price of your betrayal was worth the momentary thrill of being Asher's mistress. Because now, you'll have to live with the knowledge that you destroyed our friendship, our trust, for a man who never truly loved you. With that, I turn and walk away, leaving her to drown in her own tears and regrets. I have the evidence I need, the proof of Asher's lies and deceit, and I will use it to make sure he pays for every moment of pain he has caused me. I step into the sleek, modern office of Liam Hastings, the renowned divorce attorney known for his ruthless tactics and unparalleled success rate. He rises from behind his desk, his hand outstretched in greeting. "Mrs. Callahan, a pleasure to meet you," he says, his voice smooth and confident. "I've heard great things about your work as a lawyer. It's a shame we're meeting under such unfortunate circumstances." I take his hand, my grip firm and unyielding. "Please, call me Evelyn, and thank you for agreeing to take on my case. I need someone who isn't afraid to play hardball." Liam smiles, a glint of something dangerous in his eyes. "I assure you, Evelyn, I'm not in the business of playing nice. When my clients come to me, they expect results, and I deliver." We sit and I slide the manila envelope across his desk. This is what my private investigator uncovered. Proof of my husband's infidelity and financial support of his mistress. Liam flips through the documents, his brow furrowed in concentration. "This is good, Evelyn. Very good. With this evidence, we can paint a picture of a man who not only betrayed his marriage vows, but also his financial responsibilities." I nod, my heart racing with the thrill of impending revenge. "There's more. I've uncovered evidence that Asher has been embezzling funds from our joint accounts, funneling the money into Natalie's bank account." Liam's eyes widen, a slow smile spreading across his face. "Embezzlement? Oh, this is going to be fun. We'll nail him to the wall, Evelyn. He won't know what hit him." We spend the next few hours poring over the evidence, strategizing our next moves. Liam is brilliant, his mind working in ways I never could have imagined. He sees angles I never considered, finds loopholes and technicalities that will work in our favor. As we work, I find myself drawn to him, to his intensity and his passion for justice. He understands the pain of betrayal, the anger that comes with being wronged by someone you trusted, and in that understanding I find a kindred spirit. "You know, Evelyn," he says, leaning back in his chair, "I've seen a lot of cases like yours over the years. Spouses who cheat, who lie, who think they can get away with anything. But you're different. You're a fighter. You're not going to let him win." I smile, feeling a warmth spread through my chest at his words. Damn right, I'm not. Asher thinks he can just walk away, start a new life with his mistress, and leave me to pick up the pieces. But he has no idea what's coming for him. Liam reaches across the desk, his hand covering mine. "We'll make him pay, Evelyn. Together. He'll regret the day he ever thought he could betray you and get away with it." I look into his eyes, seeing the fire and determination that mirrors my own. In that moment, I know I've found more than just a lawyer. I've found a partner, someone who will stand by my side and fight for what's right. "Let's do this," I say, my voice steady and strong. "Let's take him down." Liam grins, a wicked gleam in his eye. "With pleasure, Evelyn, with pleasure." As we continue to work, the hours ticking by in a blur of strategy and planning, I feel a sense of power coursing through my veins. Asher thought he could break me, thought he could shatter my world and leave me helpless. But he underestimated me. He underestimated the depths of my rage, the strength of my resolve. And now, with Liam by my side, I will make him pay for every lie, every betrayal, every moment of pain he has inflicted upon me. The price of his deception will be high, and I will collect every penny. I stand before Asher, my eyes blazing with the fury of 1,000 suns. In my hands, I clutch the evidence of his deceit. It's the proof of his betrayal. He looks at me, his face a mask of arrogance and disdain. "What do you want, Evelyn?" he sneers, his voice dripping with contempt. "I thought I made myself clear. We're done. I'm starting a new life with Natalie." I laugh, a cold, mirthless sound that echoes through the room. "Oh, you're done, all right, Asher, but not in the way you think." I toss the papers onto the table between us, watching as his eyes widen in recognition. "You thought you could hide your lies, your embezzlement, your sordid little affair, but you were wrong. I have proof of everything, Asher, every penny you stole, every promise you broke." He reaches for the papers, his hands trembling. This is nonsense, Evelyn. You can't prove anything." "Can't I?" I smirk, reveling in his discomfort. "I have bank statements, credit card receipts, emails, and text messages. I have a private investigator who has been tracking your every move, and I have a team of lawyers who are ready to take you down." Asher's face pales, his bravado crumbling before my eyes. "What do you want, Evelyn? Money? The house? I'll give you whatever you want, just don't do this." I lean forward, my eyes locked on his. "What I want, Asher, is justice. I want you to pay for what you've done, for the pain you've caused. I want you to suffer, just like I have suffered." He shakes his head, his voice desperate. "Please, Evelyn, think about what you're doing. Think about our marriage, our life together." "Our marriage?" I scoff, my anger rising with each passing second. "You destroyed our marriage the moment you decided to stick your dick in my best friend. You threw away our life together the moment you chose her over me." Asher's eyes narrow, his voice growing cold. "You're making a mistake, Evelyn. If you go through with this, I'll make sure you regret it. I'll drag your name through the mud. I'll make sure everyone knows what a vindictive bitch you really are." I laugh, a sound full of bitter triumph. "Go ahead, Asher. Do your worst. But know this. I have the truth on my side. I have the evidence of your lies and your betrayal. And I will use it to destroy you, just like you destroyed me." He stares at me, his eyes full of hatred and fear. "You'll never win, Evelyn. I'll fight you every step of the way." I smile, a cold, cruel twist of my lips. "Bring it on, Asher. I'm ready for war." With that, I turn and walk away, my head held high. I feel a sense of power coursing through my veins, a sense of purpose that I haven't felt in years. Asher thought he could break me, thought he could shatter my world and leave me helpless. But he was wrong. I am stronger than he ever imagined, and I will not rest until he has paid for his crimes. I will not rest until he has felt the full of my vengeance. As I step out into the bright sunlight, I feel a sense of hope blooming in my chest. I have a long road ahead of me, a battle that will test me in ways I never imagined. But I am ready. I am ready to fight, to claw my way back from the brink of despair and emerge victorious. Asher and Natalie may have started this war, but I will be the one to finish it. And when the dust settles, they will know the true price of their deception. The shrill ring of my phone pierces the silence of my apartment. I glance at the screen, my heart skipping a beat as I see Natalie's name flashing across the display. I hesitate for a moment, wondering what fresh hell she has in store for me, before answering with a curt, "What do you want?" "Evelyn, please," she sobs, her voice thick with tears. "I need your help. The baby, she's not Asher's." I feel a rush of vindictive pleasure at her words, a sense of poetic justice that leaves me breathless. Well, I purr, my voice dripping with malice. "It seems the tables have turned, haven't they, Natalie?" She's quiet for a moment, her sniffles the only sound on the line. "I know I don't deserve your help, Evelyn. I know what I did was unforgivable, but please, I have nowhere else to turn. Asher, he abandoned us. He said he wants nothing to do with me or the baby." I lean back in my chair, a slow smile spreading across my face. "And why should I help you, Natalie? After everything you've done, after all the pain you've caused, why should I lift a finger to help you?" "Because I have information," she whispers, her voice trembling. "Information that could help you destroy Asher. I'll tell you everything, Evelyn, every dirty secret, every lie he's ever told. Just please, help me. Help my baby." I'm silent for a long moment, weighing my options. On the one hand, the thought of helping Natalie, of showing her even an ounce of mercy, makes my stomach churn with disgust. But on the other hand, the promise of more ammunition against Asher, of more weapons to use in my war against him, is too tempting to resist. "Fine," I say, my voice cold and hard. "I'll help you. Natalie, but not for you, for your child, and in exchange you'll give me everything you have on Asher, every last scrap of dirt, every skeleton in his closet. Do we have a deal? She's quiet for a moment, her breathing ragged. Yes, she whispers, her voice barely audible. We have a deal. I hang up the phone, my mind racing with the possibilities. With Natalie's testimony, with the evidence she can provide, I can bring Asher to his knees. I can make him pay for every moment of pain he's caused, every lie he's ever told. But first, I need to make sure Natalie holds up her end of the bargain. I need to make sure she's truly on my side, that she's not just using me for her own gain. I pick up the phone again, dialing Liam's number. He answers on the first ring, his voice warm and comforting. Evelyn, what's up? Natalie called, I say, my voice steady and strong. She wants my help. Says the baby isn't Asher's and he's abandoned them. Liam is quiet for a moment, his mind working through the implications. This could be big, Evelyn. If Natalie's telling the truth, if she has evidence against Asher, it could be the final nail in his coffin. I know, I say, my heart racing with the thrill of impending victory. But I need to make sure she's not playing me. I need to make sure she's truly on our side. Leave that to me, Liam says, his voice full of confidence. I'll dig into her background, make sure she's not hiding anything, and if she is, we'll use it against her. We'll make sure she has no choice but to cooperate. I smile, feeling a rush of gratitude for Liam's unwavering support. Thank you, Liam. I don't know what I'd do without you. You'll never have to find out, he says, his voice soft and tender. I'm here for you, Evelyn, always. As I hang up the phone, I feel a sense of hope blooming in my chest. With Natalie's testimony, with Liam by my side, I can finally bring Asher to justice. I can finally make him pay for every moment of pain he's caused. And when the dust settles, when the war is won, I will emerge victorious. I will emerge stronger, wiser, and more powerful than ever before. Liam and I sit side by side, poring over the evidence we've gathered against Asher. Bank statements, phone records, emails, and texts, all painting a picture of a man consumed by his own greed and selfishness. This is good, Evelyn, Liam says, his eyes sparkling with excitement. With Natalie's testimony and the evidence we've uncovered, we can bring Asher down. We can expose him for the fraud he really is. I nod, my heart racing with the thrill of impending victory. I want to see him suffer, Liam. I want to see him lose everything, just like he made me lose everything. Liam takes my hand, his touch warm and comforting. We'll make sure he pays, Evelyn. We'll make sure he never hurts anyone else ever again. We work tirelessly, building our case against Asher. We reach out to his colleagues, his patients, anyone who might have information about his unethical behavior. And with each new piece of evidence, each new testimony, our case grows stronger. Finally, the day of reckoning arrives. We stand before the medical board, our evidence laid out in damning detail. Asher sits across from us, his face pale and drawn, his eyes filled with fear. Dr. Asher Callahan, the board chairman begins, his voice grave. The evidence against you is overwhelming. You have violated the trust of your patients, your colleagues, and your profession. You have engaged in unethical behavior, financial misconduct, and adultery. What do you have to say for yourself? Asher opens his mouth to speak, but no words come out. He looks at me, his eyes pleading for mercy, but I have none to give. You destroyed my life, Asher, I say, my voice cold and hard. You betrayed me, lied to me, and made me question everything I ever believed in. And now you will pay the price for your actions. The board deliberates for only a few minutes before reaching their decision. Dr. Asher Callahan, the chairman says, his voice ringing with finality. It is the decision of this board to revoke your medical license, effective immediately. You are hereby barred from practicing medicine in the state of New York, and your name will be added to the National Registry of Disciplined Physicians. May God have mercy on your soul. Asher crumples in his seat, his face buried in his hands. I feel a rush of triumph, a sense of vindication that leaves me breathless. I have won. I have destroyed the man who destroyed me. As we leave the hearing, Liam takes my hand, his eyes shining with pride. You did it, Evelyn. You brought him to justice. I nod, feeling a sense of peace wash over me. I couldn't have done it without you, Liam. You've been my rock through all of this. He smiles, his hand tightening around mine. I'll always be here for you, Evelyn, no matter what. We walk out into the bright sunlight, ready to face the world together. Natalie is waiting for us, her baby cradled in her arms. She looks at me, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Evelyn," she says, her voice trembling with emotion. "Thank you for helping me, for giving me a second chance." I nod, feeling a sense of kinship with the woman who was once my enemy. We all deserve a second chance, Natalie, even you. As we walk away, I feel a sense of hope blooming in my chest. The past few months have been a nightmare, a hell I never thought I'd escape. But now, with Asher's downfall and Liam by my side, I know that anything is possible. I have emerged from the darkness, stronger and more powerful than ever before, and I know that whatever the future holds, I will face it with my head held high, ready to take on the world. "More gravy, Derek?" I asked, forcing a smile as I held up the gravy boat. My husband of 2 years gave me a withering look. "This turkey is so dry I'd need to drown it to make it edible," he grumbled. I froze, the boat hovering stupidly in my hand. Dry turkey? Impossible. I'd hired Chef Marcello, one of the top chefs in the city, to prepare this meal. It had cost me a small fortune, but I wanted our first Christmas dinner as husband and wife to be perfect. Derek's complaints stung. I'd gone to such lengths, only to have him criticize my efforts in front of both our families. "Oh, come now, it's not that bad," his mother Ruth protested. "Here, just needs more gravy." She scooped a big spoonful onto Derek's plate, shooting me an apologetic look. "More gravy isn't going to rescue this disaster," Derek snapped. He shoved his plate away in disgust. Anger flared within me. How dare he disparage my cooking, and on Christmas no less? I wanted nothing more than to hurl the gravy boat at his impeccably gelled head. But I held myself back. Derek didn't know about my secret chef, and his family didn't know about our charade of a marriage either. Outwardly, I was the doting wife, slaving away in the kitchen to make my husband happy. "I'm sorry the turkey isn't to your taste," I said softly. "I did try my best." Derek snorted derisively. "Well, clearly your best isn't good enough. Honestly, Eliza, I can't fathom how someone could mess up a simple turkey this badly." Simple turkey? This from a man whose idea of cooking was microwaving frozen burritos. I wanted to scream at him, but I swallowed my fury and turned meekly to my mother. "Maybe you could show me your recipe again sometime. I really thought I had it right." My mother's eyes flashed with anger on my behalf, but she simply patted my hand gently. "It's fine, dear. My recipe takes some practice. We'll work on it together." She shot a glare at Derek. "Perhaps if your husband pitched in more in the kitchen, he'd know how difficult cooking can be." Derek bristled, opening his mouth for an angry retort. But his father, Michael, intervened. Now. No need to ruin Christmas dinner with petty squabbles. Eliza clearly worked hard on this meal, so let's just enjoy it, shall we?" He gave his son a quelling look. With a huff, Derek turned sullenly back to his plate, sawing angrily at the turkey as if punishing it for its dryness. I hid a satisfied smile. Oh, he had no idea what was coming. I had barely even begun to ruin his Christmas. Just then the doorbell rang. "Right on time. I'll get it," I said quickly. I ignored Derek's glare as I practically sprinted for the door, heart hammering with anticipation. This was it. My revenge began now. I took a deep breath and composed myself. Then I opened the door with a bright smile. "Chef Marcello, so wonderful of you to stop by." I ushered the distinguished older gentleman into the foyer. Behind me, I heard the clatter of dropped silverware as my guests took in the unexpected arrival. Marcello inclined his head graciously. "Of course, madame. I wanted to compliment you on the meal. It was prepared to perfection." I turned to Derek with an icy smile. "Surprise, darling. I didn't actually cook this dinner. Chef Marcello did. Funny how even a professional got it so terribly, terribly wrong." Derek looked like he wanted to melt into the hardwood floor. His face turned bright red as Chef Marcello gave a slight bow. "My apologies for the deception," the chef said smoothly, "but Madam requested I keep my involvement discreet." My mother pressed a hand to her chest, eyes wide. My dad just shook his head in disbelief, but it was Derek's parents who reacted most strongly. "What is the meaning of this?" Michael demanded, rising from his seat. "Eliza, why on earth would you embarrass Derek like this in front of his family?" Ruth also stood up, glaring daggers at me. "After everything we've done for you, we treated you like our own daughter." I stood calmly amidst the uproar. "Believe me, you'll understand soon enough." I turned to Derek with an icy stare. Why don't you explain our little arrangement to your parents, darling? Derek's eyes blazed with anger and humiliation. For a moment, I thought he might actually lunge across the table at me, but then his shoulders slumped in defeat. Eliza and we're not exactly as we appear, he mumbled. What do you mean? Ruth asked sharply. Derek kept his eyes fixed on his plate. Things haven't been right between us for a long time. I'm away a lot for work on the weekends. I just needed companionship. Michael's face turned thunderous. Companionship? So you've been cheating on your wife? With who? I gave a cold, hollow laugh. Oh, he'll cheat on any young, gullible thing eager for a wealthy man's attention. I tossed photos of Derek with his mistress onto the table. Ruth gasped and Michael roared in outrage. You snakes, he bellowed. We welcomed you into our family. Derek's head snapped up, his eyes locking with mine. This dinner was a setup, he snarled. You lying, vindictive bitch. He moved menacingly around the table toward me. My dad stepped forward to block him. Watch yourself, boy, he growled. Derek ignored him. I know what this is really about. You're pissed I made you quit your job. You want to leech away my money. I met his furious gaze unflinchingly. You didn't make me do anything. I chose to leave my job because I loved you and trusted you, but clearly that trust was misplaced. Ruth wrung her hands. Eliza, I don't understand. You two seemed so happy at the wedding. I smiled bitterly. That's because Derek could be incredibly charming when he wanted something, and at first I was too blinded by love to notice I was just a prize to him. Michael jabbed an accusing finger at his son. You conned us all. Eliza was right to expose your lies. He and Ruth hurried out, leaving Derek alone to face the consequences of his betrayal. My anger drained away, replaced by weariness. The wedding was a dream, I told Ruth quietly. But dreams don't last, and betrayals are hard to forgive. I turned my back on my infuriated husband. The man I had once loved so completely was a mere stranger to me now. And strangers could inflict deep wounds. The weeks after the Christmas fiasco were lonely ones. Derek buried himself in work, using it as an excuse to avoid me. Not that I minded. The charming, attentive man I had married was gone, replaced by a cold stranger, but the empty house wore on me. With too much time alone, my mind turned to darker thoughts, like why a successful man like Derek would even want a housewife. He used to brag about my marketing career, so why insist I quit after the wedding? I began to suspect he wanted me home, not just to cook and clean, but to keep me from prying eyes. Weekends were the worst, with Derek gone from morning till night. He claimed it was for business trips, but my trust in him had cratered. One Friday morning, I woke feeling particularly low. I shuffled to the kitchen in my bathrobe, sighing at the sink full of Derek's dishes from the night before. As I washed up, I spotted his cell phone charging on the counter. He must have forgotten it. A jolt of adrenaline shot through me. Here was my chance to find out what Derek was really up to. My hands shook as I scrolled through his texts. Most were mundane work messages, until I found a thread with a woman named Amber. My chest clenched as I read their suggestive messages planning a weekend rendezvous. So this was why Derek insisted I stay home. Not to cook and clean, but so he could sneak off with his mistress. I wanted to hurl his phone across the room, but I restrained myself. The texts provided concrete proof of Derek's affair, proof I would need for the next phase of my plan. I forwarded the messages to myself before replacing the phone. Derek would pay for making a fool of me, for parading me around as his doting wife while he snuck off to lavish affection on another woman. My mom was reluctant when I asked her to secretly move in for a while under the guise of being our new housekeeper, but she agreed after I confessed my plan to expose Derek's affair. Just be careful, Eliza, she urged. Revenge can be satisfying, but also dangerous. Don't worry, Mom. I know what I'm doing. And I did. With her help, I gathered more evidence of the affair. Credit card receipts from romantic dinners and hotel stays. Photos of Derek and Amber locked in intimate embraces. I hid it all away, waiting for the right moment. Planning my revenge was thrilling but strange. The man I was trying to destroy had been my whole world mere months ago, but that man had never really existed. So I hardened my heart and focused on vengeance. Derek didn't realize what was coming. He underestimated me from the start, the doting wife too blinded by love and trust to doubt him. But I was not that woman anymore. And at Christmas dinner, my deception would eclipse his. My exposure of Derek's affair would stun our families. But more importantly, it would free me from the prison of this toxic marriage. I touched the photo of Amber tucked away in my dresser. "You stole my happiness," I whispered to the image of her pretty, smiling face. "Now I'm taking back what's mine." Derek would learn you can't treat people like pawns without consequences. I had all I needed to bring his house of lies crashing down. Now all that remained was timing. I just had to bid my time through this charade of a marriage a little longer. Soon Derek would regret the day he ever betrayed me. "More wine, ma'am?" I smiled at my mother as she refilled my glass in the guise of our housekeeper, Anna. "Thank you, Anna." It was a Friday night, and Derek would not be home. My mother and I were enjoying the opportunity to openly discuss our plans for the impending holiday dinner. "So I'll confront him first, and then you come in as the chef?" I confirmed. Mom nodded. "It's less predictable that way. Derek won't know what hit him." I smiled victoriously. "Exactly. He's gotten away with this for too long. It's time for a dose of karma." I retrieved the manila envelope I had hidden away and started reviewing its contents. Hard evidence of Derek's betrayal, credit card receipts from restaurants and jewelry stores for his mistress, Amber, hotel charges for weekend stays, incriminating photos, and the pièce de résistance, printouts of Derek's suggestive text conversations with Amber. Mom peered over my shoulder and whistled. "Wow, you've really done your homework here. Derek won't have a leg to stand on." I felt a surge of pride. Gathering this evidence had required meticulous planning and patience, but soon it would all pay off. I figured we need overwhelming proof, even if his family are reluctant to believe it at first, I explained. Seeing their precious son for who he really is won't be easy for them. Mom shook her head, her expression a mix of sadness and anger. "I still can't believe Derek would do this. He seemed like such a nice young man." I sighed, thinking back to those idyllic early days with Derek, how charming and attentive he'd been. I think that was just an act. The real Derek, the one who insisted I quit my job and stay home, is controlling and dishonest. An act to hide his true nature. I had fallen for it completely, but not anymore. "Well, after Christmas he won't be deceiving anyone else," Mom said firmly. We clinked glasses in anticipation of Derek's comeuppance. I savored the prospect of finally making him pay. "Oh, and I have one more surprise in store," I said with a wink. "I invited Amber to the dinner. She thinks she'll be meeting Derek's parents. Won't she be shocked to see me instead?" Mom gasped delightedly. "Eliza, that's absolutely diabolical. I love it." I grinned, feeling energized and empowered. For too long I had played the role of dutiful, naive wife. No more. Derek didn't realize it yet, but everything was about to change. "Don't worry, I was careful about how I contacted her," I assured Mom. "Derek won't suspect a thing." Soon I would take back my independence, exposing Derek's web of lies to our families in the process. He had hurt me deeply, but he had also awakened a vindictive side I didn't know I possessed. After Christmas, Derek's picture-perfect life would be shattered, and I would finally be free. Christmas morning dawned crisp and clear. I should have been full of warm cheer for the holiday. Instead, my heart hammered with anticipation for the dinner ahead. In the kitchen, Mom and I prepared the meal, ensuring everything was perfect. Well, perfect except for Derek's dry turkey. We giggled conspiratorially as we deliberately ruined it. "This will really send him into a rage when he thinks you made it," Mom said gleefully. She sobered quickly, though. "You're sure you want to go through with this, Eliza?" I nodded firmly, ignoring my nervous flutterings. "I'm sure. Exposing Derek is the only way I'll be free of him." Mom squeezed my shoulder. "Okay, just remember, we're in this together." Together. Unlike my sham of a marriage built on Derek's lies. Anger stirred in my gut, overcoming any last reservations. I was ready. I paid meticulous attention to my appearance before the guests arrived, styling my hair just so and applying flawless makeup. I needed to look composed and confident, not like a scorned wife. Derek arrived first, kissing my cheek perfunctorily. "House looks nice," he said with a glance around. "Well, make sure dinner doesn't ruin it." I forced a smile. "I hope it exceeds your expectations." Oh, it would exceed them all right, but not in the way Derek anticipated. My nerves threatened to resurface as the families gathered, but I kept my poise. Only Mom knew the tempest brewing inside me. At last, we were all seated around the table laden with food. Derek's parents heaped praise on the spread. "This looks wonderful, Eliza," Ruth said. "You've outdone yourself." Outdone herself, indeed. I nearly laughed out loud. Ruth had no idea a professional chef prepared this meal. But she would soon enough. "Let's dig in," Derek said, carving into the turkey. He lifted a bite to his mouth, chewing slowly. I held my breath. His face darkened. "It's so dry I can barely swallow," he spat, throwing down his fork angrily. "Did you even cook this thing fully, Eliza?" And there it was, my cue. I made a show of looking hurt at first. Then I stood slowly, fire in my veins. "Actually, Derek, I didn't cook this at all. Chef Marcello handled the whole meal." I stepped aside with a theatrical sweep of my arm as Mom entered, right on time in her chef's uniform. A collective gasp rang out around the table. Derek froze, eyes wide with shock and rage. I smiled coldly. "Surprise, darling. It seems even the best chef in town couldn't satisfy your palate." Derek leapt to his feet. "How dare you embarrass me like this?" He jabbed a finger at me. "This little stunt just proves you're nothing but a petty, vindictive bitch." I didn't flinch. "Sticks and stones, Derek. Now sit down. We're just getting started." The room crackled with tension. Derek's parents looked bewildered and alarmed. My father sat ramrod straight, ready to intervene if needed. This was it. My moment had arrived. Derek glared at me, fists clenched. The rest of the family looked on warily. I smiled coldly. "What's wrong, darling? You seem nervous." "Enough games, Eliza," Derek growled. "Explain yourself right now." I shrugged. "It's quite simple. You've been lying to everyone about our marriage while carrying on an affair behind my back." Gasps erupted around the table. Derek's mother grasped his arm. "Derek, is this true?" He yanked away angrily. "Of course it's not true. Eliza is clearly having some kind of mental breakdown." He turned on me, seething. "I don't know what's gotten into you, but you're going to regret this little stunt." I laughed derisively. "Oh, am I? That's interesting, considering I haven't even gotten to the best part yet." I slapped the manila envelope down onto the table. Derek eyed it warily. "What's that?" Michael asked in a hard voice. "Evidence of your son's deceit," I replied. I opened the envelope and slid the contents across the table. Credit card statements, photos of Derek with a younger blonde woman, incriminating text messages. Michael and Ruth flipped through them, faces pale. Ruth's hands trembled. "Derek, how could you?" she whispered. He jumped to his feet. "This is all fake," he shouted desperately. "Eliza is setting me up." I shook my head. "Come now, Derek. Lying will only dig the hole deeper." I paused. "But perhaps you need more convincing." Right on cue, the doorbell rang. Derek looked at me sharply. "Who the hell is that?" I moved calmly to answer the door. When I returned, I was accompanied by a petite young blonde woman, Amber. "Hello, Sullivan family," she said brightly, oblivious to the tension. "Sorry I'm late." Derek's face drained of color. I smiled serenely. "You must be Amber. So glad you could join us. Although you seem to be confused. This is my family, not Derek's." Comprehension dawned on her face. She backed away slowly. "Wait, who are you?" "I'm Eliza, Derek's wife." Amber's mouth fell open in dismay. She turned on Derek angrily. "You told me you were divorced," Derek exploded. "You deceitful witch! How dare you orchestrate this ambush? You'll regret crossing me, I promise you that." He lunged for me in a rage, but my father intervened, shoving him back down into his chair. "Sit down and shut up, boy." Derek buried his head in his hands. Around him, his family bombarded him with recriminations. "I welcomed you into our family." Michael roared. Ruth wept quietly. Amber hurried out in humiliation. In the chaos, I slid quietly away with a triumphant smile. My revenge was complete. Now to begin my new life. Derek sat motionless amidst the barrage of recriminations from his family. I stood calmly, arms folded. "Well, Derek, anything to say for yourself?" I asked mildly. He leapt to his feet, pointing a trembling finger in my face. "You deceitful bitch. This little show changes nothing between us." I raised an eyebrow. "Doesn't it? Because your family seems quite convinced now about your despicable character." Michael grabbed Derek's shoulder roughly. "Your wife just exposed you as a liar and a cheat, and you have the gall to insult her?" Derek wrenched away angrily. "This is ridiculous. You're all going to just take her word over mine?" Ruth dabbed at her eyes with a napkin. "It's not just her word, Derek. The evidence is clear. The credit cards, the photos." Her breath hitched on a sob. How could you betray us all like this? Derek's confident facade was crumbling. Good. I wanted him to feel the same humiliation I had felt at his hands. Those photos proved nothing, he insisted, but the fight had gone out of him. He knew the battle was lost. I almost felt pity for him then. He looked so defeated, so small, a far cry from the swaggering, domineering husband I had known. But then I remembered the lonely weekends, the endless hours fretting over his lies. My resolve hardened. Face it, Derek, your double life has been exposed. Did you really think you could keep deceiving everyone forever? He sank down into his chair. All arrogance fled. In its place was a broken, desperate man. Eliza, please, he croaked. We can work this out. I stepped forward and lifted his chin. The time for working things out disappeared the first night you crawled into bed with Amber. We're through. Michael grasped Derek's shoulder, fury etched on his face. You've shamed our family for the last time. I don't ever want to see you again. Ruth sobbed quietly, dabbing at her eyes. To think we welcomed you into our family. We treated your wife like a daughter. Her eyes flashed angrily at Derek. You disgrace us all. They turned away, supporting each other as they left him alone to nurse his wounds. He reached for me weakly. Eliza? I pulled away, skin crawling at his touch. We have nothing more to say. I'll be filing for divorce immediately. He crumpled, head in hands. I walked away without looking back. The man I had loved was gone, if he ever even existed. All that remained was a pathetically broken shell. I stepped outside into the bracing air. The cold chilled my tear-streaked cheeks, but I breathed deeply. I was finally free. In the icy air outside, I gulped lungfuls of breath, exhilarated by my victory. Inside, Derek remained trapped in the wreckage of his ruined life. I had gambled everything on this confrontation, unsure if I could really topple the pillar of lies supporting my marriage. But Derek's web of deceit lay in tatters. The revealing of his double life was my emancipation. I left Derek to wallow in self-pity and slipped back inside. In the dining room, Amber sat crumpled against the wall, sobbing into her hands. She flinched when she saw me. I'm sorry, she choked out. I didn't know he was married. Looking at her tear-stained face, my anger evaporated. She was just another of Derek's victims, foolish perhaps, but undeserving of this humiliation. I squeezed her hand gently. It's not your fault. Derek lied to us both. What matters now is that we move on, without him. She looked up, eyes rimmed with red but resolute. With a quivering smile, she squeezed my hand back. Sometimes wisdom emerged from even the most broken places. I returned to the dining room, where Derek still sat slumped in despair. At my entrance, he leapt up. Eliza, please, can't we talk about this? He moved towards me, hands extended beseechingly. I stepped back. There's nothing left to say. It's over, Derek. He grabbed for my wrist. You can't just throw away our entire marriage. I wrenched my arm away, skin crawling from his touch. This sham of a marriage was over long ago. You ended it, not me. Derek's voice broke. Haven't you punished me enough? This isn't about punishment, I said coldly. It's about revealing the truth and reclaiming myself. I won't be party to your lies anymore. I turned my back on his anguished face. Let him drown in misery. He had inflicted enough on me. His plaintive cries followed me out, hammering against my resolve. But I did not falter. The time had come to close this wound for good. In the hallway, I embraced my parents. It's over, I whispered. I'm finally free. Dad's eyes glistened with tears as he hugged me close. I'm so proud of you, Eliza. You're the strongest woman I know. I turned to Mom. Thank you for everything. I couldn't have done this without you. She squeezed my hands, her eyes shining. That's what family is for. Now go and start your new life. I stepped outside, turning my face up to the winter sun. Its radiance warmed my reborn spirit. I had emerged from the darkness, scarred perhaps, but unbroken. Later that week, I filed for divorce, retaining an ironclad lawyer who ensured I received a fair settlement. Derek fought at first, but eventually surrendered, too drained to prolong the battle. With my new independence secured, I reclaimed my job at the marketing firm, rising higher than ever before. Derek faded into the past, to a cautionary tale left behind. Sitting in my new corner office, I smiled as I looked at the glimmering city skyline. The future stretched before me, full of possibility. I had taken back my life, and this time I was building it on my own terms.